Really got to get the version of the logo that has the audio behind it. Good afternoon, everyone. God, I'm so used to saying good morning. Welcome. So I guess technically this isn't a Forge chat. This is just one of our 12 days of LFGMAS design chats. So welcome everyone. Whether you're tuning in live we're on YouTube, we're on Twitter, whether you're watching this later on down the road. For those who may not know, my name is Marty. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders at Lightning Forge Games. I'll let everyone else go around and introduce themselves, and then we'll get stuck straight in.
Sweet. Well, I'll go next. My name's Barker. I'm head of community at Lightning Forge Games. And yeah, lots of exciting stuff coming up today. I'm very pumped for it all. I'll hand it over to Bret.
Hi, I'm Bret. I'm one of the co-founders of Lightning Forge Games. I do game design, economy design, and lots of things to do with AI, so I'll have to be very careful with what I say. Don't want to give away too much alpha.
Hey guys, just Ray or Drasniba, just from the community, just looking for any questions and things while the guys give the alpha and the info. Cheers.
Yeah, awesome. Big thanks to Barker for setting up both this and all the other stuff that's happening as part of our 12 days of LFGMAS promotion. If you're watching live and you haven't seen it already, I would strongly suggest jumping over on our Discord and our Twitter and catching everything that's going on. A lot of cool events over the 12 days leading up to Christmas. And there may even be some other cool stuff happening as well. Maybe something dropping out of the air. I don't know. Maybe just one of those things.
Presents.
Maybe some Christmas. I mean, hey, we did a cool cosmetic for Halloween. That was pretty cool. Maybe, you know. Actually, do we have that in the presentation? I can't remember if we.
Do you want me to throw it in?
Yeah, throw it in at the end. We'll just tease everyone with it a little bit. Why not? It'll be fun. Thank you for joining in and tuning in. The goal of today is basically to give a little bit of inside information into what we've been up to as a studio as we're heading into the end of the year. It's been a very busy, the studio was only founded in July this year, so it's been a very busy second half of 2024 for all of us. Definitely, like we've tried to do with our Forge chats and what hopefully we'll keep doing moving forward, trying to give as much information about what we're building, why we're building it, giving everyone hopefully a reason to get excited about all the cool stuff that will be coming out in 2025 as part of the LFG ecosystem. Just making sure we haven't missed anything in the notes. If we have any questions or anything, obviously just feel free to jump in, throw them in the chat, or Ray and Barker, anything comes up, just let us know.
Sure.
But otherwise,
what is a design stream? You're just going to go and talk about some aspects of GM, Gladiator Mayhem? Is that what we're doing?
Pretty much, yeah. Actually, I believe for Bret, this is actually the first time you've joined us on like a Forge chat or a live space. Bret, do you want to give a bit of background, Bret, or do you want me to do it for you? Like, how do you want to...
Intro me, please.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Bret, one of the co-founders at Lightning Forge Games, has actually been around in the ecosystem for quite a while. I was actually assisting with design back when some of us were at Rainy Studios. So potentially some of your favorite RT LOL cards actually came from Bret himself. I know we worked together for Formations, Legacy. I think that was it. Some of the promo cards I know you helped with there as well. We did some stuff together for Lucha Throwdown, and then obviously, when it came time to look at spinning up our own studio, Bret was one of the very first people that I chatted to, we've also, even outside of our time at Rainy, we've worked together on various projects now for over a decade, I think would be.
Yeah, we're past 10 points now. Past 10 years. Yeah.
So definitely has been a very long working relationship. As I said, when we were spinning up Lightning Forge Games, we knew that one of the key things we needed was to make sure that the games obviously looked beautiful, and obviously Hitbox, our head of art or our art director, definitely knows how to do that. Has been doing a lot of really cool stuff in the background on GM and the other titles in development. But obviously, when you're taking the complexity of integrating, a Web 2.5 game, the Web 2, Web 3 worlds, bringing them together, working out how to make that fun, working out how to make that economy work. There are very few designers on this planet right now who actually really understand how to do that. And we are very fortunate to have one of them on our design chat today. So was that?
Do you have,
Pretty good. 4 out of 5.
do you have a background in AI as well, Brett? Is that part of your thing? Is AI?
Quite a bit actually. Now it's crept up on me. So I've worked doing AI art as a product manager, also doing some R&D, language models as well as that, and ML agents. So like I'm all across the board of that. There's things that basically didn't exist several years ago, where the games we're trying to make now just simply weren't possible. So yeah, some exciting stuff coming up.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of little things that is going to pop up through both GM as well as the other games we're working on in the ecosystem. That some of these ideas are things like, I mean, Brett, you and I were talking about what now is GTFO. I think we found the original design doc was like 2019 or something like that.
2018 for GTFO. GM is actually 2019, funnily enough.
Yeah, so like this is stuff that we've wanted to build for a very long time. We felt there is product market fit for a very long time. A big part of it was just waiting for the various aspects of the industry, the technology, the ecosystems to sort of all come together. And we're incredibly fortunate, especially when it comes to the blockchain aspect of what we're building right now. Early 2025 really does feel like the perfect storm to be dropping some of the crazy stuff that we're working towards. So for anyone who celebrates, happy 100K Bitcoin Day, which happened a couple of weeks ago. And just everyone just take a moment to remember that person who spent 100,000 Bitcoin and bought a pizza back in like 2014. I'm sure he's not regretting his $10 billion pizza, or whatever the number works out to be at all.
Must have been delicious.
I'm hoping it was at least like a Supreme or something, like not like just like some boring pizza, at least something worth your while. But anyway, and for a bit of fun while we're chatting, I know Barker, I know we've got like some questions to work through and sort of guide the conversation. I am going to throw this up on the screen. So this is just literally we just went into our internal art Bible and just stripped out a bunch of stuff and threw it into a Canva thing here, so I can screen share it as we're talking. So I'll just be sort of moving the camera around. There's some stuff over here. There's some stuff down. Some stuff down this way. Stuff over there. There's some more stuff there, but I won't get to that yet. It was just a really quick way just to have stuff we could show on screen. Because again, there's a lot of really cool stuff happening under the hood, and I know I've said this a bunch on Forge chats where we're in this. I think I've said this for years working in the Web3 space. We are doing everything we can to be as open and transparent with the community about everything we are building right now. But there will always be some stuff that we hold back, not because we don't want to share it. It can be for a variety of reasons. It can be for legal reasons. We haven't announced what blockchain the LFG ecosystem will be building with. And as soon as our lawyers give us the go-ahead, I'll be very happy to announce that. We've only been working on this deal for about 3 months now. And other things as well, like, there will be some things that we don't tell people about, because we want, when you open up GM for the first time and jump in, we want that sort of surprise and excitement and that, oh, this is new, this is cool, I didn't know this was a thing. We'll happily drop 90% of things that we're working on. But the things we sort of hold back, we're definitely doing for a reason. And just for fun, that is an in-game screenshot from Gladiator Mayhem right there as well. Actually, to be fair, I actually darkened the background a bit. But it is a in-game shot. And I guess, just quickly, for anyone who may not be aware, Gladiator Mayhem, or GM, is the first of 3 in development titles coming from Lightning Forge Games. It will be a hero brawler, is how we're sort of describing it. So your heroes will be brawling in small arenas against both real human and AI-powered opponents. At the moment, we're still finalizing some aspects of design. All the current testing we're doing is based on 2v2 hero battles. But the team has tested like 1v1, 3v3, stuff like that. We've tested out like a battle royale mode. What happens just throw 32 heroes on an island and just let them run amok. That's actually really fun just to sit back and watch at the moment. So yeah, we're definitely building GM in a way that's not only will we have like a really fun launch mode, but we can add special events, new features, new game modes and that over time. You'll see them popping up both as new game modes to get added permanently. So we may add a 3v3 or a 4v4 or a 2v2v2 as an example. But there may also be other game modes that just pop up as limited time events. So maybe the first weekend of every month is Battle Royale weekend. And we open up the Battle Royale mode for that particular weekend and have prizes and tournaments and stuff like that. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff planned there. Yeah, I think that's the high level, I think, on GM. I know we touched on it a little bit in the last Forge chat as well, if people want to go back and watch that.
So when you say hero battler, what do they what sort of view is it? Is it a first person type view? Do they punch each other, or they got guns, or they got bombs and things, or how's that roll?
It's a good question. So currently it's a top down angled view. So similar to what you might see in like most like say RTS, like Warcraft and Starcraft, that kind of like top-down view. Obviously, given that there's only a few heroes in this, much more zoomed in, much more close to the action. At the moment, we haven't brought across the full cinematic camera that we had in Little GTFO, because, and this is something we haven't actually announced yet, we're actually going to have two different play modes for GM. There'll be AI mode, where your heroes, basically the AI that you've trained, they jump in and take control. And there'll also be a player AI pair mode. So you will actually directly control one of the heroes. You'll have an AI companion, and you'll be battling against either two heroes from the same player, which one of them may or may not be human controlled. So yes, there will be real-time live multiplayer in GM. So there's a little bit of tidbit we hadn't dropped there before. But yeah, obviously then also fully supporting what we call our AFK and earn modes as well. So with AFK and earn, that basically means you can go set up like a squad of 2 heroes and you say go play 10 battles. And when you do that, you can actually close the app and go about your day. We'll send you a notification when they're done. You can watch replays. But the idea being that this is a game that you can be as active as you want, as passive as you want. But either way, if you want to have your heroes out there working 24/7, 365, we will 100% support that. If you own multiple heroes, so let's say 2v2 game mode is the main game mode. I think this answers Rob's question here a little bit. So let's say, for example, we do a 2v2 game mode and you own 4 heroes. Well, that's great because you can set up 2 squads and tell them to go play. Maybe you control one of them, the other one's in AFK mode. You can put both into AFK mode and you can go do something else. The idea is that this should be a game where it really is up to you how active you want to be in terms of leading your heroes into battle. If you just want to sit back, pop them all into AFK mode and just watch them battle, see what happens, focus on training the AI, you absolutely can do that. If you prefer to get in there and get your hands dirty, then we'll absolutely support you in doing that as well. In testing, we found that's a really nice balance so that players basically have the choice of how they choose to engage with the game. In the same way that some players with, like, say, a game like, I was going to say FIFA, but it's called FC now, isn't it? Some players really like getting in there and battling, or playing the game, trying to get top of the leaderboards and that sort of stuff. Other people just like collecting, and some people like just, building up really cool like squads, and then just, doing, AI versus AI games, just sitting back and watching.
Like a coaching mode.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there'll be a lot of variety. Awesome, Rob. There'll be a lot of variety in how you choose to engage with the game. And again, this is one of 3 planned and in development titles, which hopefully will all be dropping in 2025, which is kind of crazy. A lot of studios struggled to release 1 game, and we're here trying to do 3. So,
but the beauty of that, I suppose, is they're all interoperable, aren't they? Your heroes go throughout all 3 of them, and I think
exactly
is the code joined somehow in the background as well? Is that all?
Yeah. So. And this is something we've talked about, I think, from the very first Forge chat. A lot of the systems we're building, a lot of the ways we're building these games are very heavily connected. So both, like the engine we're building to power GM will be the same engine we use in Game 2. Draz, you may know the name of that. Maybe, I'm not sure. Have we publicly announced the name of it? Yeah, I can't remember.
No, I don't think
no,
so.
we haven't. Okay, cool. Well, there's probably some alpha being dropped there right now. And then obviously in GTFO in the flagship game. The reason why GTFO is currently planned to be the third game launched is honestly, it is the most ambitious of the three. It's the most epic scale of the three. And it's also the game, but to get the most enjoyment out of it, you'd want to have built the biggest collection of heroes in your biggest army. So it makes sense to drop the other games first, give you the opportunity to start collecting heroes, training them up, getting them, all the equipment and stuff that you need. And then by the time we drop GTFO, bang, you're just ready to dive straight in. But yeah, GM very much will stand on its own as a very fun, engaging game. I know the team's been doing a lot of testing internally. We're all enjoying playing around with it. And yeah, hopefully in early 2025, we'll be able to open it up and have a lot more people joining us as well. Obviously, the very first people who get to play it will be people who are part of Cohort 0 over on our Discord. So if you've been grinding those engage points, if you've been, I think it's 120, I think is the cost still at the moment. Yeah, you can jump into Cohort 0, get early access to all of the games, but especially for GM. The other way to get the earliest access will be through our Forge keys, which I know we've got planned a Forge chat early in the new year. That will be basically dropping all of the alpha around Forge keys and exactly what they will include, which I'm sure the people who've already earned some we're very keen to find out that as well.
Just on the Cohort 0 thing too, while they're at 120 at the moment, as soon as that runs out, next time you see them, that's going to be a higher point cost. So get in there while you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, the number of seats that we open into Cohort 0 will be limited, and then the cost will keep going up. So yeah, the quicker you're able to get in there, the better off you are. And all you have to do to earn those engage points is just every time we tweet, which is literally every day, was it like, comment, and retweet all those tweets.
Do we know how we're getting the heroes yet? Is that a known thing?
What we can say so far, so it's going to be interesting. All of your heroes will be on chain, but there will be a differentiation between, say, heroes that we do through like a traditional like NFT drop, as well as heroes which are unlocked just through gameplay. There won't be like a hard divide between the two. Like obviously some games will do like a soulbound collection and like a an on-chain collection. Because of the way we're building things, and obviously partnering with some of our amazing backend like Web3 partners such as Third Web, all of your heroes, regardless of if you're a free-to-play player or you're a Web3 native, will be all on chain. We will use things like smart contract wallets to just obfuscate all that under the hood. So you'll just look in your inventory and you'll see your heroes. But there will be a very noticeable difference in, say, any heroes that get dropped through a limited like NFT drop, both in terms of how quickly they earn experience, how you can train their AI, how you can upgrade them, level them up, stuff like that. There will be ways for free-to-play players to take their free hero NFTs and sort of work towards that goal. But it is going to be a lot more work if you're going down the traditional free-to-play path. We're trying to find that balance between not having the game feel pay to win, but making sure that if you do, for example, if you own Forge keys or if you own, hero NFTs from one of our exclusive drops, making sure that you are getting the right sort of value out of that collection there as well. I know with Forge keys, we've already announced there'll be like exclusive tournaments. Have we announced the relationship between Forge keys and heroes yet? I can't remember if we have.
I think we've touched on it, but let's just drop it here anyway. There's a reason you want Forge keys, not just one, but two.
Yeah. So within the LFG ecosystem, there's currently 12 different factions currently planned and in development. So we've revealed some of them, so like the Barbarians, the Imperials, stuff like that. For your Forge keys, every Forge key will basically give you a half-price mint for each faction. So as you said, Brett, if you theoretically had 2 Forge keys, you would basically get 1 free hero. If you had 4, you would get 2, and so on and so forth. If you had 3, you'd get like 1 and then a half price mint if you wanted to use that. But But yeah, so theoretically, if you own 2 Forge keys, there's 12 free heroes, 1 for each faction, just straight off the bat there. Each faction will have, at launch, will have 5 different classes. We may add other classes down the road, like for interfactions. But as far as the NFT mint is concerned, at the time of mint, when the faction gets launched, there'll be 5 classes per faction. So
don't
theoretically,
expect the classes to quite be the same though. It's more of a broad category. So like a mage who's on like the ancients summoning skelly boys, they can be very different to someone that's more like from the barbarian faction, who's more about cold, ice, freezing.
yeah, absolutely. Each faction is being designed to have its own style of gameplay. So each faction has its own way of they try to win. And again, that's across the 3 different games as well. So yeah, it's an interesting design challenge we're sort of biting off here. But the cool thing is, yeah, if you like playing as the barbarians, for example, across those different classes, you'll be able to, have a really nice variety of different, say teams or squads for GM. You'll be able to approach game 2 in some very interesting ways. And then theoretically, you could build like a whole, barbarian army in GTFO if you want to go down that road. We will let you mix and match though. You may find that the perfect strategy or perfect tactic for what you like to do is maybe a barbarian warrior and a imperial ninja, as an example. I was trying to think which ones we've announced, but they're all a little bit lower down. So here we go. These are some of the early like concepting and designs that we did on these.
Have we dropped the trailer yet?
No, we haven't. We haven't dropped the cinematic trailer yet, and we're not dropping it here. We actually technically haven't announced that there is a cinematic trailer.
For GM.
There is one. For the LFG ecosystem. So, yeah, we worked with some really amazing partners that focus. Like our team is great at building game assets, building interactive, fun experiences. But when it comes to putting together like a proper 1-minute like cinematic trailer, we knew we wanted to get like an amazing director involved and wanted to really like work with the right studio to work on that, which we did. That's actually done. We're just waiting on the right opportunity to drop that actually. So if you want to see that, maybe start pestering us on Twitter and Discord and spamming Barker and opening tickets and all that fun stuff. And I mean, we'll probably just ignore you, but
please don't piss them off.
But if people really want to see that, then at the end of the day, we just got to give the people what they want, right? But yeah, there's a really ridiculous cinematic trailer that just sort of shows off the LFG ecosystem. We've shared that with some of our internal partners and investors, and they all love it. We're just waiting for the right opportunity to sort of share that with a wider audience. Make sure we get the most impact for it.
Okay.
Sweet. Well, should we go into some of the questions I prepared earlier?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Sweet. All right. So, yeah, this is a question for both Bret and Marty. How did you begin designing GM? And, like, what's the process? What factors did you have to consider, considering it's going to be a multi-platform title?
Bret, who's taking that one?
I'll start. You can finish.
Sure.
So it's lots of different factors here. So we have to go. All right, what's the weakest link in the chain, and is it going to work there? Because if it doesn't work there, we can't use that platform. So when we were looking at GTFO, it was like large scale army battle versus battle. We've tested that on Telegram, and even at its early stage where we haven't optimized, it still worked. So that was great. It's also then dealing with the control system too. Ultimately, you need something where it's simple enough where people can actually play the game, but it will work across multiple devices. This is where if you have too many buttons on it, it's going to look like a nightmare on a touch device. But if you've got some swipe gestures or some more intuitive design for only a few buttons, then it's a lot easier to play. So a lot of this was just going, what are the different game types we're doing? What devices will they appear on? And then just how can we get it so that way people can have fun without just being drowned in an interface? Because some people want to do this on Telegram, others are going to be want to play on a browser. We just need to make sure we cover all those bases. So there's a technical limitations, also some design. that's before we even touch the factions.
Yeah, a big thing with GM and with all our games really is we always knew we wanted them to be like cross-platform. You know, knowing that you need to meet gamers where they are has always been something really important to everything we're building. Specifically though with GM and with the Telegram platform in particular, anytime there is an opportunity to release games in a new innovative way, when there's a chance to potentially activate and engage a brand new audience that hasn't been exposed to this before, and especially when it comes to gaming, when there's an opportunity to release games in a way that's very low barrier to entry. These are all things that, as someone who's worked in the space for too many years, these opportunities don't come around very often. We saw this with the rise of Steam. We saw this with the rise of the App Store, to a lesser extent, like the Epic Game Store on Google Play. But when you have that big platform, Telegram has 950 million daily active users. That is a big number when you stop and think about it. If we're able to create what we call a hybrid casual experience, which is basically a very game techy way of saying that the game is very casual to start and then evolves over time as you're playing the game into more of what we call a mid-core title. So very easy to start, and then you start learning more and more, and we add layers of complexity as you go throughout the journey. So there's always something new to learn, something to master. There's always that next challenge as you're playing through the game. Yeah, when we design games in that way, a platform like Telegram, where it's so easy to share it with your friends, it's so easy just to get in. It's literally press a button, and bang, you're in the game. That has a lot of appeal to us. And then because regardless of where you start playing the game, you'll be setting up an LFG account. That one account will be your identity across the LFG ecosystem, regardless of what game or what platform you happen to be on. So if you start playing GM on Telegram, and then a week later you want to play on the desktop build or your phone directly or something like that, same account, everything just carries straight over. When GTFO launches and you're playing it, via download on, a digital storefront, we'll ask you, do you already have an LFG account? Yes, sign in, and we'll support all the sign-in methods that we would have supported on the previous games as well, such as sign in with Telegram. And bang, everything is just there, ready to go. Your heroes are there. Any coins, gems, whatever it happens to be, just works. I don't know of many studios that are this ambitious when it comes to just ease of use and onboarding. But to us, we see this as just something as critical as building a kick-ass game. We need to make sure that it's as easy to get into it and play it and experience it and play it with your friends and share it. So we're putting a lot of effort in making sure that we're building that out in the right way.
That's definitely a thing, isn't it? With the Web3, you just need to make it as hidden and seamless as possible, really, for everybody to get that uptake.
Yeah, I think we've said that from the start. Like, we're partnering with ThirdWeb, who support like smart contract wallets. So as soon as you jump into the game, you're not going to see a MetaMask login. You're not going to see, please enter your private key or stuff like that. You're just going to go straight into the game. We will take care of everything on the back end in terms of everything being on chain. At any point, if you want to take your stuff from there and put it into a wallet that you have full control over, we'll support that. But you don't need to do that, is the key point. Everything is on chain. You're earning tokens. You're collecting heroes. It's all on chain. It's all transparent, which is really important there as well. We'll have our own marketplaces within the LFG ecosystem. So you don't even have to move stuff to your own wallet just because you want to, say, trade it with a friend or pop it up on OpenSea. We'll give you all the tools you need within the environment itself to be able to do all that.
Will there be multiple maps and things like that for the GM brawling landscape?
Yep,
definitely.
Yeah, we're testing several at the moment. So we'll probably won't launch with maybe it'll be like a couple. It won't be a huge number at launch. But again, the way the maps are being built is in a way that we can actually, because when you think about it, if the maps we're creating, they all use the same pieces, right? Think of it like Lego. If you've got a big box of Lego, you can put that together in a bunch of different ways. And for our level designers, we're sort of giving them all the pieces of Lego to put cool levels together. one of the great advantages of doing it in that way is if we want to push a brand new level, we actually don't even need you to download an update to the game. We can just basically pass that data through our back end. The game goes, oh, okay, cool. This is how the level's put together, and it just puts it together when you load the game, and off you go. So again, if we wanted to have, say, a special weekend event where we had maybe we do a level with like, I don't know, like a massive bridge down the middle where it's super easy to knock people off or stuff like that. Actually, that'd be a really fun level, actually, now I'm thinking about it, Brett. Then we can push that very, very quickly. Everything we're building is being designed to basically allow us to deal with what we call the content treadmill, which is, players who are playing free-to-play games expect new things every single time they open the game. They want fresh content. They want new maps. They want, they want interesting things happening all the time. They want new cosmetics. So, when we build out tools like this, where we've got different cosmetics able to just be dropped straight on our characters super easily. And, we're already working with partners who are, we're showing them, okay, cool. Here's how you build cosmetics for all of our different characters to allow us to go wide and drop as much fresh content as we possibly can. All of our different characters, all our different classes, the rigs are being designed in such a way that, if we create like a cool pair of sunglasses for one character, you should be able to use them across as many as possible. Some they won't work on. For example, the sunglasses just wouldn't make sense on, some characters. Maybe they would. I'm not sure. But yeah, trying to solve the problems that traditionally have been very hard to do, especially for an indie studio, in ways that allow us to grow and scale and keep up with the demands that players have.
Also, there's like, I've got a PFP. I want to customize it. We want to let you. And we want it to look that way, or as close as we can to in the game. So what you just saw up there, we can actually have it so you can have your PFP updated based on that. So that way it will reflect it in the game, which I haven't seen really too many people do.
Yeah. So we're building out like a full, hero customization tool that will be available for players to use. For example, if you do have one of the Halloween cosmetics, it's up to you which hero you pop that on. And then if you happen to be using that hero as a PFP, as a cosmetic, we need to then update that information for you so your profile picture will automatically update. And if you're just linking to that PFP on various platforms, then it will just work and it will just update, automatically for you, which is really cool. Obviously, on some platforms, you'd have to go and download it yourself and, set it, like, Telegram as an example, or Twitter, or X, I'm supposed to call it now. Fucking Elon. But yeah, again, making things as easy and as seamless as possible is a huge part of everything we're trying to do.
You don't have any snippets of gameplay or any of that sort of thing at the moment, or a map?
We were discussing that this morning, actually. You can see one of the maps. Where is it? There in the background. So
how big are those maps compared to the player? Like, Mega Weapon or something like that has a massive, and you can run around of quite a distance.
If we're putting it in real world terms, they are significantly smaller than a football field.
Okay. Comparative to the size of the hero.
Yeah.
If the hero was a normal person.
If the hero was a normal person at the moment, and again, this is all due to change. It's made, for
Yeah.
Battle Royale, this wouldn't be the case.
No.
But at the moment, think very much like, say, 1 to 2 basketball courts in terms of size. GM is very close, chaotic, crazy, quick combat.
Yep.
If you're looking for the big epic battles that take an hour to play out, we've got that. That's GTFO.
Okay.
If you want to, get in, bash someone over the head with a big axe, that's GM. So, but yeah, we're still playing around with level design, level sizing, even, the size of the character relative to the levels. Like, there's a lot of little things that take a lot of tuning to get quite right. That's all the stuff we're playing with at the moment. The only reason we're not showing gameplay footage today is there's a lot of polish that goes in that last 10% of development. There are bugs at the moment. One of the characters, if you smash them into a pit, the character like ragdolls, but the ragdoll for some reason is like anchored at the waist, so it literally just looks like they're having a really awkward seizure, instead of like flopping around and actually ragdolling like they should. So we want to make sure when we're putting stuff out there, because once it's on the internet, it's on the internet. Like that's that's for better or for worse. That's the great thing about the internet. If you dig hard enough, you'll find some blogs I used to write. I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, yeah, we want to make sure when we're putting stuff out there, it's at a polished state that we're happy to put our name behind. We're happy to say this is GM. Maybe it's early footage, but yeah, any footage you see of any game is, I mean, normally if it's talking like traditional Web 2, it's months or years more dev work than what we've put in so far. But yeah, we just want to make sure that it's at a point that we're happy to like really lock it in, and most of those bugs are sort of squashed, and and it really does feel like the sort of game that we're building towards.
Is the environment in the maps, like in the background there, you've got tombstones or things like that? Is that interactive? Can you smash that stuff, or
not at this stage? That is a goal for what we're building towards. Okay. Destructible environments is awesome.
Yeah, but
it's making sure that it's additive to the core experience that we're actually creating. What you may find is if we are going to do really cool destructible environments, we would probably much more likely to make that, say, a feature of game 2 rather than something that is in game 1 but isn't really doing anything for you. When you already have such close-knit arenas, like being able to like destroy something doesn't actually change much.
Sure.
But when we get to game 2, you'll understand why that makes a world of difference, having like destructible terrain and stuff like that there.
Game 2 being the unannounced game?
The unannounced one that I believe you may know the name of, yes.
I have a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Well, yeah, let's get to the second question. So, as somebody who's not a designer, I've always wondered, what is the best part about the design process?
Ooh, two there. There's like the initial having all these great ideas and writing them out and getting them just down and trying to connect them. Then you go through a bunch of testing, and then it's amazing to see what comes out the other side. Because it's one thing to have an idea, it's another actually to see it realized and then to refine it to get to where it's not just you who thinks it's a good idea, it's other people who are enjoying it and having fun with it. And sometimes it's not actually adding more things, it's just working out what the key thing to focus is and cutting down on it, where the underlying design is pretty much the same for a lot of these different factions, but then there's a twist on it, which makes them significantly different when you actually play them. So yeah, it's having that aha moment. It's like, cool, I've got the basic controls down, but now it feels really different when I'm playing, I don't know, the Ancients versus the Barbarians. Or a ninja versus an archer.
There's a huge difference between, Brett and myself, or whoever on the team is on a call going, oh, I think this is how it should be designed, and let's build this, and that's like the first thing we implement, is get a prototype as quick as possible. And then as soon as you get in, it's like either, yep, that's right, that's it is what we thought how it would play. 99% of the time, it's like, nope, that's shit. But that prototyping gives us the insight we need to direct it in the direction it needs to go. Design is always going to be a very iterative process. As an example, the earliest builds of GM started out as 1v1, and it sucked. We're like, nah, something is missing here. Like it's, I've got some clips saved. I won't share them, but like where it ended up like a Benny Hill clip where you just had two warriors just chasing each other around, because they were the same speed and stuff at that time. And we're like, how quick is it to test 2v2? And the dev's like, yeah, that's like half an hour. We just, basically copy some things. And the second we went to 2v2, the whole game just changed. It was instantly just a 10x experience. So yeah, it's one of those things where when you have those light bulb moments, when you get to see the game sort of evolve over time, and accept that you're very much just along for the ride in it from a design perspective, where our goal is the same as the players' goals. We want to make the most fun, engaging game that we possibly can. We just get to see the 99 versions of the game that was shit before the hopefully good version that we actually ship. Which is always fun. And yeah, it's why especially when you come from a design background, and and you see games that maybe come out too early, or they're not quite cooked properly, or there's obvious things they got wrong. It sucks because that all those games, if they had had the time to iterate and prototype and cook that little bit more, could have been something amazing. So yeah, there's always that like fine line there.
That pick you had up there before of the warrior,
Yep.
is that does the hero appear differently in each of the games? So the one on the left is the hero in GTFO, and the one on the right's the hero in GM. The same hero that you own.
Yeah, so at least for GM, and again, this is still very much an up in the air sort of thing. But definitely for GM, we're making sure the game is highly optimized with both its art style and its performance. So when we're targeting platforms like low-end mobile or Telegram, the priority there is to make sure the game runs on as many devices as possible. So there may be some cosmetic differences between the different games, but they will still be, hopefully, I mean, I would hope, even you look at these two here, and I hope it's very obvious these are the same hero.
I think it's a cool thing. I think it's cool to have them looking different in different games, really.
Yeah.
I like the little version of them. They're quite cute.
Yeah, you would definitely want to feel like it's the same character, just different takes on that character.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. So question number 3. What is the process for collaboration within the team at LFG, like within the designing of the game and stuff?
Right, is this where we talk about the times we're on calls at like 11 p.m. we're smashing the Gronies and trying to solve a problem?
That's about right, yeah. It's a fusion of programming, art design, and AI, so it's a heady mix. Normally we'd be on a call for hours. There's occasionally someone's like, oh, what's the time? It's like, damn, I actually need to eat. And we're just trying to iterate, get like a solid call down and go, all right, we can do this. And it's like, it won't work for art. Or we need to do this that way. We can have people do like the AFK and earn or the online play. And yeah, there's a lot of back and forth there, but it's good just to have like reliable co-founders that know about these things so we can just quickly iterate on them. And by quickly, I mean over hours of calls with many drinks.
Yeah, it's the interesting part in game development in general is that there's so many different disciplines that all have to work together to bring everything to life. And that includes like marketing and community and stuff like that. Like that's it's one thing for design to go, this is what the game should do, but then programming has to actually be able to implement it. Art has to make it look good. Tech art has to make it performant. Marketing has to then take that game and then sell it to the world. And community has to answer the complaints when something goes wrong. So it's very much the whole team is as involved as possible in every step of the journey. I say as much as possible because there's also times where you need people just to be able to focus on what they're doing. You don't want to have a too many cook situation. You don't want people being too distracted with like, hey, this is a feature 3 months down the road. You need them focusing on what they're trying to build at that point in time. So definitely for Brett, myself, and like the other like senior people at the studio, it's a case of looking at our roadmap, looking at all the things that we need to build to get to a certain point, making sure we've got the right people that are unencumbered and not blocked on what they're trying to build, so that they can sort of work through all the steps along the way. As an example of that, if we got to the point where we're like, cool, we really want to test I don't know, the Imperial Ranger in game, it's one thing for us to turn around to the developers and go, hey, like, this is the next character we want built. Here's like the abilities we think it should have. Like, here's how we think it should play. But if art doesn't have the art assets ready, well, then what are they literally going to put there? Like, is it a placeholder? Can it not be done? Is the effect a very visual effect where, if we don't have the tech art ready to go for it to show like, the explosion or the particle effects, something like that it doesn't actually give us something we can test. Is design maybe not ready for it? It's like, cool, this is the character we want, but design hasn't agreed on what the ability is, or, there's a lot of interesting pieces that all have to come together a million different times to get to a release of a game. So yeah, And then there's even things along that line that's outside of our control. Whether that's an ecosystem partner that we're working with, or a back-end service that doesn't have a feature ready, or the feature's down, or their documentation's not up to date. Yeah, the fact that games get made at all is incredible. The fact that people choose to work in games is kind of stupid, but that's a whole other discussion right there. But no, it's there's a lot of cool things that have to all line up. So yeah, that's pretty much what we do.
It does help that like you've known me for a while, I've known Johnny for a while, you've known Johnny for a while. Just having an experienced team that's worked with each other before and things that have shipped and gone out, that's just so helpful, because there's a level of honesty you can have with people you've worked with before, and you kind of know how each other ticks.
Yeah, absolutely. Having done this for many years, we have the benefit of hopefully spotting some of the problems down the road before we hit them. Won't always be the case, especially in the space that we're playing in, when there are so many new things, so many unknown things. Not many people have tried to take AI like we have and build it into the core loop of a game. There's plenty of studios out there right now who are like, oh, we're an AI studio, because they've opened ChatGPT once, they've opened Midjourney once. We're make or break. If we can't get the AI working, we don't have a game. That's a very different level of risk, very calculated in what we're actually doing. But yeah, it's I always like to say that we are doing the ungoogleable in our day-to-day work, which is fun, but adds challenges into the mix as well.
All those weapons and things, the shields and things you're seeing on the screen there, are they collectible, or are they just an assignment of a particular hero?
They could be.
It's just kind of ideas around like the different classes. So there's a class called the Guardian. They're like a defensive tank, which every faction will have, and there'll be a different take on it. So those ones, some of them you'll see them in the game. It depends on what one you'll get. Some of it's randomized a bit, so you'll have different things. Others has to be bought as a cosmetic used later. Okay. It's really important what your gear is, because there are sometimes numbers attached to it. So yeah, that's just a little previews to see what different designs we could get. This one was really challenging. So this is loosely based off ancient Japan, and they don't really use shields. So we're trying to work in a defender for that kind of concept, and this is where we have to get a bit creative.
When you say numbers, you mean like a defense value or something like that attached to a shield? Some are higher than others, potentially.
Health, cooldowns, there's like tons of different ways it can go. Maybe even some procs, which I won't go into. If anyone's a fan of Diablo, you know what I mean.
Yeah. There'll be a lot of. Oh, sorry, guys.
No, I was just saying if they're cosmetic and you can collect them or something like that, that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, and I said, some people in the community do already have their first cosmetic. Some of them will be very on theme, cool things like this. Sometimes there'll be a pumpkin head. The great thing about the style we're going for is it lets us have a lot of fun with what we're building. If you just go right back to, where was that cosmetic video? Oh, I've lost it. You sort of see here, this is just literally like putting together like a bunch of just random cosmetics sort of all together. But it gives you an idea of how you can sort of combine different things together, some of which will be just like base cosmetics, some of which may be like separate, like actual cosmetics that you unlock or buy, some of which may or may not have like a stat boost to them. So yeah.
Sweet. All right, on to the fourth question. So what are the benefits of Telegram games, and what adjustments do you have to make for the platform itself?
Yeah, it's a good question. The biggest benefit of Telegram games, honestly, it's ease of access and ease of sharing are the two big reasons why we're leaning hard into building GM as a flagship game on Telegram. As I said before, 950 million daily active users. Literally, to get in the game, you click a button. It could not be easier. If you want to share the game with your friends, and you've got them in your friends list, it's 3 buttons to do that. That gives us, we can see through like the Telegram SDK, let's say, for example, I can see, Draz is playing, Brett's playing at the same time. I can challenge, I can send them a message, I can, trade with you. It's having that holistic platform where everything's just built in, ready to go, and has so many people using it is insane. We know there is a demand for gaming on these on Telegram specifically. There's plenty of games that have already launched there. At the moment, most of them are fairly casual, like clicker games or very, very simple sort of things. I don't really know anyone who's trying to push the envelope like we are here and try to drop something which I would consider a much more real, like in-depth gaming experience, even though it is still very much at the casual end of the spectrum. It's a very interesting opportunity for us. As I said, this is one of our many platforms we'll eventually support with GM. We want to meet gamers where they are and make sure that, if you do start playing on Telegram, you want to start playing it on your phone or on your desktop, that won't be a problem. We'll let you do that. But yeah, there is too many people on the platform looking for fun games for us to ignore that as just an amazing opportunity at the moment. And if we can get that right, it opens up a world as well where, Discord supports their own similar system to Telegram mini apps. There's other messaging platforms that support that. Eventually, it's hard to do for Western developers, but WeChat is huge if you're in China. And again, they support the mini app ecosystem on WeChat is bigger than the app stores there. In the Western world, or at least in Australia, I can't really talk for the whole Western world, but in Australia, on my phone, I have my, banking apps, I have my messaging apps. I have 20 different apps that I'll use throughout a day. In China, WeChat, they're all just built in as mini apps. You just have WeChat and everything else falls off that. That's the direction it looks like Telegram is trying to go towards. And if that's the case, and Telegram becomes your one-stop shop for everything that you're doing, wouldn't it be amazing if we were the premier game studio launching amazing games on that platform as well? Just saying.
Would be pretty good. All right. So it looks like we're almost out of time. If anybody has any questions, chuck them up now, because the last 5 minutes I'm going to dedicate towards community questions. But yeah, let's just do one last final one. What learnings have you taken from designing GM so far?
Get your foundations right, basically. So GM, GTFO, mystery third title, which no one could possibly know at this point in time. They're all using some things for AFK and earn, AI play, playing with other people online, and just getting that down. It's one thing to make a game to just demo something in another environment, but the moment you have it hook up to those other factors, it's all significantly more complicated, which is why I'm glad we've managed to wrap our heads around it. Like the demo we've got currently now, not demo, it's the wrong word for it. The current playable we've got, which we're not showing yet, it's got all those things there. So we've managed to get all those large scalable features in, and now we can start building and refining. So yeah, just get your foundations down as soon as you can, so you can actually start testing the core of something.
Yeah, I would definitely say GM's design has been an iterative process. Looking like GM would not be where it is today if it wasn't for the work we did on Little GTFO. Little GTFO was an iterative process. Early on, that was a very serious game. Didn't mean it to be, it just evolved that way. And we actually drew a line in the sand. We're like, no, this is not the right direction. We need to pivot this a little bit. Pivot's a trigger word for a lot of us in the studio at the moment, but it is what it is. We found the fun in that, building, having crazy effects and physics and stuff like that. And GM is building on top of that. So again, with a lot of your abilities and characters you see in GM, expect there to be people getting knocked up and flung through the air and thrown around, and a lot of crazy things like that. Because in a controlled way, we've found that actually does create something that's both very fun to play and very fun to watch, which are both really important aspects to building an AI-powered ecosystem. If you're going to build a game where it's one thing to build a game that's fun to play, where the controls are tight, it's fun, it's enjoyable. There's that right balance between skill and luck. Like getting all those things together in a game that you play is great. When you're building a game that's an AI-powered game, you've then got to also build something that's fun to watch and just sit back and enjoy it as a cinematic experience. So balancing all of that, yeah, definitely appreciate the work the team has done so far. There's been a lot of iterations, a lot of things that never made it past the cutting room floor basically. But yeah, it also comes together and hopefully creates an amazing fun game that who knows, maybe 950 million daily active users may enjoy playing. I'd settle for 1% of that. I'd settle for 9.5 million daily active users.
Nice. The game engine you guys are building, originally you were sort of saying that you potentially could license that to other people as well. Is that still a focus, potential for where you're going?
Yeah, it's definitely something more in the medium to long term. But both the way we're building the AI, the way we're building the actual engine itself, if you were looking to build your own games on Telegram, the engine we're building right now would be a great starting point, because the engine is designed from the absolute ground up to be incredibly performant. There are things that the engine is doing under the hood that most programmers will look at and not even understand what I look at half of it and don't understand what it's doing until the devs explain to me, like, no, we're doing this because it saves this many kilobytes and stuff like that. So the stuff that we're doing from the engine perspective, that would be great for anyone building in the space. Doesn't have to be these style of games. It doesn't have to be AI based. But if you are looking to add AI into your games, then absolutely, the way we're building that side of things, the fact that we can work on 3 games at once, that's also being done just as a proof of concept, if nothing else, to show that this technology scales across multiple genres. And yeah, there's no reason why you couldn't take that. And the way we're doing the AI, you could theoretically, put it in a racing game, to give a very unorthodox example, sort of thing. It doesn't just have to be the sort of like style of games. But yeah, definitely something that's more medium to long-term focus for us as a studio. Our initial priority, and honestly, our main priority will always be delivering amazing experiences for and growing our community as a result of that. But obviously, we are a business. We're a registered company in Australia. I've got salaries to pay and stuff like that. So yeah, making sure that long term we've got a lot of different avenues for how we choose to take the studio and take the tech that we're building, to ensure that we can be around for a very long time and keep doing this. So yeah, having multiple games, having the ability to license the technologies that we're building, yeah, definitely an important part of what we're doing.
Cool.
Also, just solving a bunch of pain points from a player perspective too. So who's played a game where they've had a tournament, you've managed to get third because you're not that great, and you're waiting for your reward for 2 months. It's things like that where we've seen it from both sides, as a developer and a player, and we're looking to fix that. So if other people want to solve that problem too, we'd gladly like to work with them and just offer them what we've got. For a price, of course, but that's after we've got working on our own. So we'll solve that sort of problem with our own stuff first and then hand that over.
That's right.
But yeah, I mean, you solve that problem, then theoretically you could have tournaments running 24/7, 365. Some are free, some have an entry fee. They're designed for different players, designed for different factions. Maybe there's different unique conditions. Like maybe 2 p.m. every day, there's like a wacky tournament where you can only use enchanters or something like that.
Maybe
if you're
there's
online,
exclusive ones for Forge key holders. Who knows?
If you're online, cool, you can jump in and play it. If you're offline, you can register and just AFK it. Theoretically, you wake up in the morning and you've won a bunch of tournaments because you came up with a really cool tactic, or you trained your AI in such a way that it beat the current meta. Then you take that tactic and you throw it on the marketplace, or you just rent it out to a friend or a guildmate. Yeah, there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle of what we're trying to pull together. But when we pull it off, I think what we're creating with LFG is going to be something pretty fucking special.
Sweet. Good timing too, I think, generally.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps that we're seeing an increase in interest in gameplay across the board. We're seeing more acceptance of Web3 when it's done well. from traditional gamers. Big shout out to Off the Grid, which is a game. I think they're on their own Avalanche L1, but they're partnered with Avalanche. But they're running play tests on Xbox, PlayStation. They've had some really big name streamers jump in there and play. And yeah, it just goes to show that if you create a great game, you can get past that barrier of where traditional gamers have been told, like, oh, NFTs are evil, Web3 is evil. Like, no, it's a fun game. Focus on that, and the gamers will come.
Yeah, nice.
For sure. All right. Well, that's kind of perfect timing, everyone. I think it might be time to wrap it up, unless anybody has any final points they'd like to make.
There's a faction which we haven't mentioned here. Maybe people can work it out. Who knows? There's been some subtle hints dropped somewhere in our socials. So, yeah.
If you're following
Keep your eyes out.
the 12 days of LFGmas, there's some really when's that big announcement happening, Barker?
There's a couple. The one that I'm most excited for is actually happening in 3 hours.
Is that the one we had the call at 9 a.m. yesterday for?
Yes.
That's that one?
That's my, yep.
Yeah. That's going to be big. So yeah, definitely keep an eye on our Twitter and our Discord. There's, God, talk about a giveaway. That's going to be huge.
3 hours. Yeah.
3 hours, 5 p.m. Australia time.
Yeah. We try to have most of our tweets go out at the same time every day. Make it easy for people to sort of get in the habit. But yeah, like I said, thank you everyone who's been participating in 12 days of LFGmas. This big announcement will be really fun. And
all right.
We'll have a Forge chat early in the new year, specifically with Forge key details and details around the mints and stuff like that. And then first public alpha of GM shouldn't be too far behind it.
Sweet. For the cohort 0, probably.
Cohort 0 will be the first ones in. So if you haven't unlocked cohort 0, you've still got a little bit of time, but would strongly suggest getting those points and getting ready for that.
Nice. Great work, fellas.
Awesome. Cool. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you for tuning in or watching or wherever you happen to be seeing this. And as we say around here, LFG.
LFG.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.